All right, what is up, TradingView? Welcome back. We're obviously in the middle of Asia session. We're going to mark up some charts, see where price is at, and as always, we are starting off on the higher time frame. But first, remember, it is always pips over profits because pips cannot be faked inside the market. So let's go ahead and see what we can get pips wise today. Yesterday, I believe, I think it was 60, 65 pips, something like that. I took a small trade. I'll show you where I took the trade at. It was like 65 pips, something like that in the market. Not a bad way to start off your Asia or Monday Asia session. I took the trade. Actually, it wasn't even an Asia session that I took the trade. I took the trade at London. Took the volatility, like the lower side of volatility, up into this high area. Like I said, I would give them more in depth as we get further into the chart. So that was my trade that I took. But currently we're forming a new thing in price. I'm not going to touch this. I'm going to evolve the structure as we break down further into the trade. So as always, we're starting off on our higher time frame. Unconsciously, I already dropped down to the 4 hours. So here's our daily. We have a nice flag that's forming up here. We have 1, 2. I'm not counting this. I wouldn't count this as a third touch. Okay, here. If I was to evolve the structure, which you saw me evolve it yesterday, which is, I still like this pattern, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to force it. I see the relevance in this pattern, especially as we're forming up here. I'd love to either see a break back down below into structure like this, then giving us some sort of flag like so, and then we'd look for some more downside. However, we don't have to do that. What we could do is get a fake out and then a push back above and the market continue higher outside of this flag. Okay, so once we evolve it, it'd be something like this. But I'm not, like I said, I'm going to evolve the pattern. Evolving mean I'm going to adjust the trend lines. I'm going to adjust how we're looking at it. So I'll evolve the pattern as we look further in depth to it. But I'm still a fan of this pattern. Like I said, I wouldn't count this as my third touch because this is one, and really this right here is something that's called like an arc. It shows prices like slowly coming back, versus like this would be price like slowly coming back down here, and that's not more of like an impulsive move. If it's an impulsive, it'd be this and then a sharp move back down here. Okay, and then this would be a rejection. But this arc that we're getting, price is slowly developing back down before it takes back off, shows the slowing down and the momentum of price. So since I got an arc here, this counts as like just my second touch, as you see. This would be first touch, that'd be second touch, and then we'd look for third touch down here in this area. So leave those off. And the evolution that I had yesterday of the pattern would be something like this. I would tighten this up, and then we're left with these two bits of price here where it's more separated. So I'm separating the pattern because when you separate it, you're getting two different types of price action. I'm not trying to lump one giant piece of price together and trying to form a bigger piece of price action. I'm separating the two, and I'm able to say, okay, there's a flag here. There's another flag here. Price is still moving kind of slowly to the top side. But what it does is when I separate price, I'm not just getting trapped inside of this. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to avoid when I separate, is I'm avoiding staying trapped inside of just this right here, where it's like, oh, well, price hasn't broken above. It's just been kind of floating in this area. I bet it breaks back down. So what I've done in this situation when I don't separate price is now I've limited myself options wise of what the market can and what it can't do. So I want to avoid limiting myself. Now, will I leave this on here? Yes. But you got to understand, I'm taking it as for what it is. I'm not this I'm saying this in reference to like it's good to separate your patterns when you're I'm not going to say new in the market because obviously you're seeing me separate my patterns, but it's good to be able to separate your patterns because it's not just staying stuck within the same bias. And the reason I can keep this on here is because in my mind, like I said, I have a game plan of okay, well, yep, this is one thing here, I have another thing here, and we got a small flag forming here. Now, this keeps me open by doing that to seeing price come down, reject, get a push back above, and for us to look for some type of higher price movement. So this flag would be valid. But if we get a breakdown back in price, okay, so we get a move back inside of price, then now this structure, because I didn't fully delete it off, okay, we have 1, 2, 3. We're almost having a fourth touch. If I get the break back inside of structure like this, I know that my target now comes down to here on the bottom side, like so. And then I'd be targeting the lows down here into the very bottom part of the structure right here. That'd be my target. So I'd be looking for downside all the way into the bottom of this. And then I wouldn't even be looking for more lows. I would still be bullish in this situation. Even up to the moment, like we get the rejection down here. If we get this type of price action here, push higher. Okay, that's very imperfect, but say even if I got this type of price action, even after it collected these, I'm not looking for lows. Like I'm not looking for the market to turn to the downside yet because I'm still bullish because it hasn't broken any significant lows. Yeah, this might be a peak indication, but it would depend how price broke down below here. If I got a breakdown below this, like this, and now I start to come up to the top side, I would still now be shifting my bias for a short in the market like this. That's what I would be looking for in this situation for me to consider taking the market lower. But unless we don't get a break like that, if we even just come down here, collect these lows in the grand scheme of thing, like that's nothing. But if you go back to yesterday's markup, you'll see that we discussed the monthly time frame. And the monthly time frame had a very key piece of information, which was this chunk of price. This was a wick on the monthly. This whole thing that you're seeing right here was all just a wick down on the monthly time frame on the candle. So that's something I want us to pay attention to. And that's why I'm separating pattern is because this wick right here. So I'm going to leave this top. I'm not going to overextend it over to here. You've heard me say it 1,000 times that you don't want to overextend your trend line just cutting through price action like this. There's a time and a place. There's always what do they call? I'm blanking on the term. Like you can do this, you can't do this thing unless it's in this situation. There's always like those types of scenarios inside of trading, just like anything else. Um, fun fun fact and something to make that relation to is I started training jujitsu this past week or 2 weeks ago. I guess I started training, and that's something they say all the time is like you never want to put your arms all the way out unless it's in this situation. So there's always like different avenues that you can take, especially inside of something like trading. I don't want to cut my trend line all the way through here because now I'm cutting off information. It's like, okay, yeah, this was valid, and this was valid, But now you just have price cutting through here. It's like, well, what's that telling me? And it's nothing. Also, check this out, dude. We're 10 minutes into this, and like you're starting to see like there's so much that goes into price. Like it's not just me coming on here throwing trend lines up. There's processes that go into like what am I thinking behind each move? Like why am I putting my trend lines here? Why am I changing pattern? Like in this situation, like I said, I just made a great example. I had price coming through here. Okay, why wouldn't I extend my trend line? Oh, well, because yeah, this is valid, and this is valid, and this is valid, but now all of a sudden I'm just cutting through the middle of price and something as significant as this. And it's like, okay, but why would you do it in this situation then? Well, here's why. It's because exactly what I just said. There's times and places. If I delete this off, what you don't see is that this right here was a liquidity zone. And let's replay this back to here. Okay, so price came up and it rejected, right? This is our first rejection. Price rejected, came back down, filled this area. It missed this high here, all right, and then price pushed lower. It never broke this low. Instead, we stopped. It never broke this low right here. Stopped here, wick down one more time, and now it pushed higher. Okay. Not only did it push higher, but we got this beautiful wick, a doji candle, and an engulfing candle right there. So now I grab my liquidity, the market's going to reverse, and it's no longer about the trend line. So let's take off our bar replay and let's look at price for what it is now. So now what I'm saying is I can now draw a trend line here because I see on a higher time frame, if I go up to the weekly or to the monthly, this is just a flag. And this is null and void because this doesn't play into the trend line, right? We have a touch here, we have touches here, and we have touches here because those touches just play into the trend line, but they don't factor into the liquidity that was grabbed before price pushed lower. Reading between the lines, times and places. But if you're looking now over on this side, this was not liquidity grabbed. We just are having a trend line that would just be randomly cutting through price. Now, does that make sense to have a trend line cutting randomly through price? No, it doesn't. So we're going to leave it like it is. And now we're going to take into consideration this is a piece of price, this is a piece of price, and now we're starting to get another piece of price there. Okay. Now, for anyone that has made it 13 minutes into this, if I could give you some advice, I would go back and rewatch what I just showed you because there's so much game in what I just put out. Honestly, I'm like kind of halfway considering if I should even post this video now because like there is so much information in what I just gave you. And if you can walk away with it, and like be observant, take some notes and walk away with what I just showed you, your trading game will improve 10x just because there's so much value in on the info that we just went over. So we're just going to take that off, right? Because it's not, I have it in my mind. I know it's there. This is what we're paying attention to now. So remember I said we were going to do what with price? We were going to evolve price. So I'm taking my trend line because now this is the rejection that we had. That was our first rejection. This is our second rejection. So now I can take my trend line since it's a clear rejection. It's a clear rejection because we're on the 4-hour time frame. Even if this was the 1 hour, it would still be valid. Okay, I could count this as a rejection. But since we're on the 4-hour, this is now first rejection, and this is second rejection there. And then same thing on the bottom. We have a rejection down here, and then we have a rejection here. And now do I think price is going to come all the way down here and grab these lows into this area? Very unlikely unless we get a steep pullback down. And if we get a steep pullback into these lows here, then I'm not going to be looking for a price to just randomly come all the way back up and us take it higher unless there's some impulsive move that happens at this bottom. Like it comes down, impulsively moves up, gives us a flag in this area, then we could look for some highs. Sure. But if we get an impulsive move down, price starts to kind of give us this little bit of like a descending channel, and then we start to get an impulse move down, I'm going to be looking for more lows all the way down into these areas here. So I already have one rejection here, two rejections, and you're seeing me draw these lines on here. So those are going to be the areas that I'm paying attention to see how price reacts to either get a rejection there or we get a rejection off of that right there. So let's drop into our 1 hour now. Now our structure makes a lot more sense. We had a trend line here. And this morning we had this. Actually, I'm going to give you a more accurate reading of the trade that I took this morning and why. So we were playing off of this trend line, okay, and then I got a flag right here at the top of this structure after we got these wicks. I got a flag and then I took the flag up. So this was our trend line that I had marked up. Okay, we were following that trend line. Let's drop down to a lower time frame now. There's a target that I'm looking for, and while we're here, I'm just going to label it. Okay. Those are going to be my areas where I'd love to see price just come down, touch. That's not the thing I wanted. This is what I wanted. Come down, touch, move like that. Or we get the move down here with some type of rejection to then go higher like that. Now, if we get a breakdown below here, I'm possibly going to be looking for some more lows down into this side. Doesn't mean I'm going to be dead set on the lows, but it's now going to be a higher probability in my mind because I'm always thinking of probabilities. Like, okay, if this happens, what would happen here? If this happens, how am I thinking there? So let me show you this trade that I took real quick. We're running out of time. I was on the 5-minute time frame. Let's grab this. I saw it on the 15. And this was the low I saw. Oh, here. This is it. Friday, Sunday, and then we're Monday morning here. This area right there. Price came back down, barely touched off of this, and then I saw a beautiful flag on the 1 minute time frame. I was on the 5 when I spotted it, but I was on the 1 minute time frame. We bounced off the support. I saw price push up out of this area, and then we took a long position up into these highs. Right here. We just stopped right below this, and we were targeting these highs. So I got 20 seconds left, but that you'll be able to gather, like I said, what I was looking for inside the market today. I already drew it up. Look for a published idea. I appreciate you. Go back, rewatch this video, a lot of sauce, and I will catch you next Asia session. Till next time, peace.